Good evening. Welcome to Athens City Council. It's Monday, June 3rd, 2013, pretty close to 7:30. And this is a regular meeting of Athens City Council. We have several ordinances to deal with. First of all, we have to establish a quorum. Member Patterson has told us that he's going to be out of town, actually at a convention speaking on
Town-County
JPAC.
relationships.
Yeah.
And the JPAC, I believe.
Yes, touting the JPAC organization, and he was asked to speak on this, so pretty exciting. We have two sets of minutes that we'd like to dispose of. Regular sessions of City Council held May 6th and May 20th, and actually a special session that we held on May 28th. Could I have a motion to accept these minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting these three sets of minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are accepting these minutes. Thank you. We do have some communications. I have several, and I think we have several from other people also. We'll be having a second public hearing about the CDBG federal funding for city projects. We've had a meeting. The first meeting was on April 22nd, and the next one will be on Monday, June 13th, 2013, 7 o'clock in these chambers. That's the same night as our regular committee night, so you need to come a little bit early. The meeting will begin at 7 o'clock. We have a liquor permit request that we're not sure whether we dealt with this or not. This is North Moss Restaurants LLC, 63 North Court Street, applying for an exemption from the early closing on weekends, and this would be extend the permitted privileges until 2:30 a.m. Right now, is that midnight closing? Is that what that means? I don't know, but they're asking for the extension. So that's we have information here if you'd like to read it, and any remarks need to be postmarked by June 17th. If you have any remarks to make about this request. Also, City of Athens employees and employees who are watching, we have Saturday, June 29th, 7:30, a Copperheads night. It's the night of the fireworks, and we're asking for any city employee who's interested in attending the ball game to contact Claudia Reagan here in the city building. Phone number there is 592-3367. We'll be covering some ticket costs on that. And I think Member Fall has some.
Great. Thank you. I want to put forward for council approval tonight the initial commission members for two of our new commissions that we have. First, the Historic and Architectural Preservation Commission. As you remember, we passed this earlier this year. The initial commission members I would like to put forward are Mary Ann Reeves, Keith Chapman, Cyrus Moore III, Joanne Priestley, Harry Wyatt, Sari Landers, and Guy Phillips. And once again, without citizen involvement and citizen volunteers like this, our city would have a hard time doing all all the functions that need to be done. So I'm asking for council's approval.
All those in favor of accepting these names for the commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
I would also, there's been some changes on the Environmental and Sustainability Commission, so I'd just like to remind people and also ask for your approval for the commission members of this. Cliff Hamilton, Ed Newman, Elizabeth Rhodes, Marky Miller, and Lori Burchett.
Are
The-
new members.
Lori Burchett is the newest member.
Okay.
Do we need a second?
Yes.
Yes, okay, second.
Second? Okay. All those in favor of these changes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Again, your members are accepted by council.
Sure.
You have other comments?
That's it.
I think the mayor did.
Oh, for me? Communications?
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing up the legal notice for the public hearing for CDBG. Saves me some wordage there. And thanks for putting approving the Historic Preservation Committee members, commission members. Again, that's a new commission, and they'll have some ways to work out. Just to reiterate, there will be that FEMA flood risk information public meeting. That will be July 11th between 4 and 7 o'clock. That's Thursday, July 11th at the community center. A couple other things too. You'll see if you check our city website, there is a gypsy moth aerial treatment. This is spraying, or rather throwing a bunch of chips around that have pheromones for the gypsy moth. This will be taking place on the south end of the city. They have a block locked off there. If you go to their ohioagriculture.gov site and go for gypsy moths, they're putting these little chips out there that have the pheromone that will kind of confuse the male moths, and they won't be able to find the females. There's also an MSD sheet that we can find at that site. I just want to let you know this will be starting soon. I believe treatments will be occurring sometime in June, second or third week in June, tentative starting date. I don't know if you were informed last week, day 29th, I guess, is that we did not get the round 5 of the Safe Routes to School funding. I guess informally I've heard that only about 25% of the applications were funded. So just to let you know that. Let's see, before I miss anything else here. Okay, yeah, one more thing. The household hazardous solid waste, I don't know if Paula mentioned to you. Basically, the final total is about $10,808. We picked up quite a few things, of course, and of course the rest of it, about $4,800, was from the Athens Township. So the total was about $15.7 thousand total cost for getting rid of the household hazardous waste. Yes.
I have a question back to the Safe Routes to School.
Yes.
So that's the one that was to take place this year.
Next year.
For 2nd Street and
No,
No.
this is for the next round. This is actually 2 rounds ahead. We're still dealing with 3 and 4 right now. We haven't done it. I don't think we've even finished 3.
Okay.
I forget what we were trying for at that point, but they're a little more
Merkel,
strict.
I
What?
think it was Merkel and some stuff on Madison and that part of town.
So we'll try again, rework it. And that's really all I have at this point.
Auditor Heck, did you have any?
I do. I have just a couple things. I wanted to update you on our CCA program. I handed out income tax reports for the month of May, and I highlighted where we are. At this point in the year, we're up 3.1%, which we're very happy with. About $100,000 that's been collected is through CCA. We collected about $70,000 in-house. If you go to the 3rd page, you'll see where I've highlighted the $146,000. That's how much we're up. So we would have been down if we didn't have this program, because what we collected in-house was through this program, plus what they've collected for us. So just to let you know, we're keeping a close eye on that. However, another added benefit to this program is that now that we have these accounts on file of people we didn't know about, the revenue will continue for that. So I'm pretty happy with that. My other announcement is to let you know that we are planning a tax meeting to talk about HB 5 with area tax administrators, mayors, auditors, service safety directors, city managers. Evidently, southeastern Ohio is the only area of the state that doesn't have an organized tax group. And so we did have a meeting last summer, I believe it was in August, and we invited area tax administrators to come. And we talked about it a little bit, but we talked about other issues that we have. So we've invited about 16 entities. That's going to be on June 20th at 1:30 here in council chambers. And you're all invited. If you want any more information, just let me know, and we can provide that. But I just thought you might want to know. We formally invited the mayor, but you're certainly all welcome to come also. We've also invited our representatives, Lou Gentile and Debbie Phillips, and one other one from Washington County. But it should be interesting. We seem
What
to
is
be...
the date again?
June 20th. It's a Thursday, I believe. Yeah,
I'm
Thursday.
sorry, the time again?
1:30.
Thank you.
This will be just after the planning commission meeting. We hope to get out
Right,
in
yeah,
time.
we're hoping
I'll
to
be
get
here.
in here.
If it carries over, we can.
Yeah. If something changes and we can change it, we met at the community center last year, but there's nothing available now there, but something might change and so we might, but we would notify anybody who's let us know that they're coming if we change the venue, but it would be here or the community center. But so we'll just plan on squeezing in here and see what we can find out. And it's just really a nice opportunity to meet people that do our jobs, in all the areas around us. So we've already heard back from Beverly, Belpre, and Lancaster. So, and we had a very good turnout last year. I don't know, Chris, did you come to that? Yeah. We had a really nice turnout last year. So people are anxious for information, but a lot of them don't live even as close to Columbus as we do, and they just can't go to a lot of the meetings that we've been trying to attend. So,
Question back to the CCA, the collection agency that we've been working with. We have a contract with them, and when is the current contract ending for us
Well,
to be considering renewal?
I want to say
if we want to?
June, but I also think it has an automatic rollover unless we say different. So if you want me to check on that and let you know in case you are having
The
second
automatic
thoughts.
rollover.
or
I
what
know
you
we
wanna
had
do.
some concerns from council members expressed before about the initial letter, the information out to the public, doing a better job of getting that out to the public. But I think,
Right.
thanks to you and Tina, we've worked through a lot of those.
I believe she's
initial
reviewing that
bad
second letter
reactions.
right now.
Okay.
No, they're not going to send anything out again. Well, and we reviewed the first one, but as tax administrators, we didn't think it was such a big deal. It's like, hey, you owe us money and all that, but that doesn't fly in Athens, evidently. And so, which is fine, because we are also trying to work with our community members and people and, the other cities. Evidently, we're the only ones that deal with people. Because it states pretty clearly that they're supposed to call the CCA, and we don't mind. And the CCA is working with us. It's just a different experience they're having with us than they've had with the other entities. So,
Maybe we'll teach them something.
well, that's what they said actually, that they've learned a lot from us. They did say that. So, we're hanging in there with them. But yeah, the second letter should be going out before long.
Okay.
Yes.
So if the contract were renewed in June, or whenever that date is, would that mean that they'd start at letter one and the
No,
whole
that
process
would,
then?
yeah, well, then we would move on to the next fiscal year. We went through 2010. So those letters that go out, or the checking that they would do against the IRS records, would only be for 2011.
So they're only dealing with,
It'd be a much
With that.
smaller group
Okay.
because some of these people we've already captured, and it would be new revenue and new accounts for 2011. So the process would be much smaller.
Considering,
Yeah,
sorry.
but we had one suggestion from a citizen that I thought was a pretty good one, and I asked Tina about it. It was putting like a disclosure on the utility bills, and she says, well, we could put a little small one-liner on the utility bills, but you know, to once again remind people, if you earned money doing this, and this, then you are, you're required to file
The
income
problem is
tax.
we are very limited in the amount of space that they will give us on that.
Okay,
And then there's the cost involved if we add a letter to that, because we have an outside
okay.
company who does our billing for us. That's not something that, we can have mayor's staff just stuff in the envelopes, and so,
Well, I'm just thinking of a number of
Right.
ways to let the public know, not only just we filed with CCA. That didn't mean anything to us until we got the letter in the mail, and we went,
Right.
what's this? And I think likewise with a lot of other people, so.
right, we
you know,
would
if
have
we
to
can-
start that process all over, like you said, get it on the utility bills, get it on the government channel, put it in the newspapers, and
Good.
and do our advertising. We absolutely would, because it would involve some new people that weren't involved, might get a letter, and yes, it would be all new to them again. So we can look at that and see if we can change that wording, but we were very limited in what they told us we could, space-wise on the bills.
So, I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
So, two things. One is that there will be a second letter
Yes.
of some kind. Two is that if they roll it over next year, in theory, since it's a percentage of what they take in, it'll be diminishing returns from them as well as us, right? I mean,
Right,
in theory, they'll be
right.
capturing less and less,
Right.
less and less people. So
Yes.
somewhere along the line, it comes cost prohibitive to do this over and over again.
Probably. Well,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what their expenses are. Evidently, they think that up to 5% is the most they would need. For us, we have nothing to lose, because we're not going to capture these people otherwise. So,
So what I started to ask was, will you come back to us with the final
contract information,
Yeah.
and probably a better idea of when the letters will actually go out.
And then we'll have a meeting, talk about that, and hopefully make a decision.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes,
Thank you, President. I also was going to comment briefly on the communications.
go ahead, please.
Thank you, President Sands. Just a reminder that last week, many of us in attendance on council, along with the mayor, were present for a meeting regarding the essence of Athens, in which our city planner, Paul Logue, helped organize with a professor from Ohio State. And essentially, it's just a reminder to folks that if you have a feeling or a thought or ideas or photographs, essays, to send them to the planner. And there's also a Facebook site as well as a Twitter account. And this data will be collected, I believe, up to the end of the month. Is that correct?
29th of June, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. And so this information then will be synthesized and formulated into the potential narrowing down of the essence of Athens. So again, information out there for the public, and direct your questions to the planner. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. We ready for ordinances for third reading? Ordinance 5913, an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street between Union and Washington on Saturday, August 10th, 2013, from 2 p.m. to midnight for the Bounty on the Bricks fundraiser. Member Pappy, I believe.
President Sands, I move to adopt 59 with this, which we will read. But this is the fundraiser for the Regional Food Bank. And we will be closing a portion of Court Street and setting up a very long table. And when I say we, I don't mean council. I mean a group of community volunteers who have worked really hard to put this event together. And these are our final readings for this tonight.
This particular event is a brand-new event for the city.
First time event. And it's happening August 10th. And of course, we have to close the street sooner, but I believe the event will begin around 5 p.m.
Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 5913 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 6013, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Title 7, Section 7.05.26B1, city garage metered parking rates and regulations on Saturday, August 10th, 2013, from 5 p.m. to midnight for the Bounty on the Bricks fundraiser. Member Pappy.
Again, I move to adopt 6013.
Second.
And this, of course, gives people who are coming down for the event the opportunity to park free of charge in the parking garage.
Everyone in favor of ordinance 6313 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 6113, an ordinance establishing a glass-free drinking container zone during the Bounty on the Bricks fundraiser on Saturday, August 10th, 2013. Member Pappy.
So again, I move to adopt 6113.
Second.
Of course, keeping in line with our atmosphere in Athens, we are wishing that there be a glass-free zone during this event.
All those in favor of ordinance 6113 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 6213, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on August 10th, 2013, during the Bounty on the Bricks fundraiser. Member Pappy.
I move to adopt 6213.
Second.
And again, this is the final ordinance that allows for this event to happen with the group that will be providing the food for the event.
Okay. All those in favor of ordinance 6213 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 6413, an ordinance amending the 2013 appropriation ordinance introduced by Councilmember Nisler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of ordinance 6413.
Second.
And this particular ordinance will move $6,000 to the general fund 101-106 transaction code 300. And what this will do is cover the increased costs. We're estimating it to be $6,000 associated with the Southeast Ohio Regional Jail. And these additional costs are due because the rate per day per prisoner has gone up in the amount that's charged to the city.
All those in favor of ordinance 6413 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 6813, an ordinance declaring certain vehicles no longer needed for a municipal purpose. Member Gosney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move adoption of ordinance 6813.
Second.
This ordinance allows the city to get rid of a few older vehicles that are no longer of any use to the city, including a few pickup trucks, a couple from the 80s, 96 Ford F-150, 95 Jeep Cherokee, 97 Ford Crown Victoria, and also a 2003 Chevy Impala.
All those in favor of ordinance 6813 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. And last, for third reading, ordinance 6913, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to execute a lease with the First Presbyterian Church of Athens, Inc., of Athens, Ohio, for the rental of in-lots 15 and 17 in the city of Athens, and declaring an emergency. Member Pappy, you going to handle this one?
I can do that. I move to adopt 6913.
Second.
So we've been discussing the lot, which is located near our police station, and it's a lease situation. Is that a 3-year lease or one?
What?
3-year lease.
3-year lease, about
Right.
3% increase every year.
Right. So we've been discussing that the last few weeks.
And it will include both parking areas.
15 and 17.
All those in favor of ordinance 6913 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Moving on to ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 6613, an ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $720,000 notes by the City of Athens, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying part of the cost of constructing street improvements in the University Estates area of the city and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Nisley.
65.
Ordinance 6613, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise and accept bids where necessary and to enter into contracts for the University Estates street improvements, project number 265, and declaring an emergency. Also, Councilmember Nisley. Ordinance 7013, an ordinance amending the Athens City Code to establish Title 47, Resource Extraction and Waste Disposal Monitoring and Mitigation, introduced by Councilmember Fall. Ordinance 7113, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Development Services Agency for a community development block grant for calendar year 2014, which is federal fiscal year 2013, and declaring an emergency. Member Patterson, did you have anything to say about this? No? I remember Pappy and I looked right at you, I'm sorry.
I really can't speak to this. No, I do not have anything to say.
Okay, so we'll leave it for second reading. Moving on to ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 7213, an ordinance renewing a revocable license to the owner of 22 Ohio Avenue for an existing fence on the city right-of-way. Member Fall.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a fairly straightforward right-of-way revocable license. This is a little different than like a business sign or such because it's personal in nature, and such as because of that, when it changes owners, then the person has to get a new revocable license. This license will be in effect for 10 years, or if there's a change of ownership or use, or if the council decides to revoke the revocable license. And that's for 22 Ohio Avenue.
Any other comments? Ordinance 7313, an ordinance declaring certain police department firearms no longer needed for a municipal purpose, and amending the 2013 appropriation ordinance for the purchase of new firearms, introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe last week during committee meeting, Member Patterson addressed this, and it's determined here that the police department is requesting purchase of 34 new firearms and is declaring 52 department firearms no longer needed for municipal purpose. We do have a list of all the said firearms, and I'll read briefly here a note from Captain Ralph Harvey, which was addressed to the City Service Safety Director, the Chief of Police, and all of City Council. And essentially the note is acknowledging here this memo. If approved, this transaction will be conducted with Vance's Law Enforcement Sales on Cleveland Avenue in Columbus, Ohio. It should be noted that Vance's is a federally licensed firearms dealer and is the company that was used by Athens in the past to trade in their firearms. As a federally licensed firearm dealer, every sales transaction they perform is required to include a federal background check to ensure that they are not selling to a person who is not legally allowed to own a firearm. So I felt that that was relevant information that should be shared publicly.
Good point.
Lastly, then, $8,000 is the request between the difference of trading in and then the new ones requested. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from Member Lopez? We'll move on to Ordinance 7413, an ordinance amending the 2013 appropriation ordinance, introduced by Councilmember Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have three different accounts that will be appropriating money to. One of them is $7,000 to the Recreation Fund, and that's for a vehicle refurbishing. We discussed this briefly last week. We had a report from the mechanic about a 1994 Chevy dump truck that's going to have a rebuild, I think, is what it is, because the crank bearings and the head gasket are much in need of repair. But they think with the repair, the truck is good for a while longer for us. The next one is $15,000 for Arts West, and these are for improvements. We will be purchasing 170 performance seats for $9,000. For $2,000, we'll be removing carpet and sanding and refinishing the hardwood floors in the performance space. $3,000 for installing removable drape and pipe for the stage. And then other improvements to the performance space, which would include track lighting for artwork, wall fixtures for hanging temporary artwork pieces, framing materials to seal in the window insulation, and create appropriate spaces for the artwork. That will be $1,000 for that last improvement. So the grand total is $15,000 appropriated for what's called the CCA Grant Fund, and this is the Municipal Court Intensive Probation Program. They have $4,000 that they have underspent in this particular grant. They have checked with the grants officer, and they have agreed that it's reasonable to purchase some equipment, some computers for their work. They haven't had any new computers in over 5 years, and so they thought that this would be the best use to purchase new laptops for the probation officers.
Is it possible to suspend rules on this? Because I know the car for the truck, for instance, so you got to get it working.
Yes. And
I think there's a
I asked that we
deadline on
request, yes, and I have suspension written by my notes, but neglected to do it. I request that we consider this ordinance under suspension of the rules.
Second.
And they're fine for this. Because we do have the appropriations that need to, the bills that need to be paid for this.
We're asking to suspend the rules to allow Ordinance 7413 to be considered under suspension of the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Member Nisley, the rules are suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of Ordinance 7413.
Second.
And you all have the lengthy description that I gave of the three expenses that we'll be using, so this is what it's for. Rec Fund, Recreation Fund, the CCA grant, and then Arts West.
All those in favor of Ordinance 7413 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, this ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 7513, an ordinance amending the 2013 staffing levels and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that we consider this ordinance under suspension of the rules.
Second.
And the reason being that this is for staffing levels that needs to be filled immediately.
Okay, we're asking for suspension of the rules on Ordinance 7513. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The rules have been suspended, Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of Ordinance 7513.
Second.
Thank you. And this particular ordinance amends the staffing levels, and what this will do is enable the city to authorize a second position for the water treatment plant manager, so that the person coming in could cross-train with our current water treatment plant manager who is retiring in August.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor of ordinance 7513 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is also adopted. Ordinance 7613, an ordinance authorizing the payment of a prior year expense and declaring an emergency. Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that we consider 7613 under suspension of the rules.
Second.
The reason being that this is a prior year expense and needs to be paid immediately.
All of those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The rules have been suspended, Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of ordinance 7613.
Second.
And this particular ordinance will authorize the city to expend $14,985.32 from the sewer plant fund. And this is for a bill owed to Strand Associates. And these are for the some of the early expenses for our wastewater treatment plant improvements.
Any questions? All those in favor of ordinance 7613 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ordinance 7613 is adopted. Ordinance 7713, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA federal local let project agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the Safe Routes to School Project 268 and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you, President Stans. I request that we consider this under suspension.
Second.
And the reason for this is the grant application is approaching rapidly, and we need to get that completed and turned in on time.
Okay?
And, go ahead.
All those in favor of suspending the rules on ordinance 7713 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Member Pappy, the rules have been suspended.
This one here is we're suspending right now.
So I move to adopt 7713.
Second.
And this is the Safe Routes to Schools program that has been approved. And this is for the total cost of the project is supposed to be $94,600. ODOT shall provide the city 100% of the cost. And this is for the 2nd Street area improvements. Is there anything else on that? Do you exactly? It was
I know
2nd Street.
that
Watch
we're trying to
Street.
move it forward. I just realized also probably the next ordinance may need to be suspended as well,
Right.
because I see this looks like a partner of it as well.
So this is for segments of 2nd Street, Watt Street, South Lancaster Street by the Athens Middle School.
I suspect we're trying to get it done as soon as possible before school gets back in.
Right.
And I apologize, I was out of the loop for the past 2 meetings, so I'm not sure how acute this needed.
We've discussed this now a couple times, but,
Okay.
right.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting ordinance 7713 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ordinance 7713 is adopted, and we'll move on then to 7813.
I think that wasn't that one 78?
I'm sorry?
No, that was 70.
That was 77. Okay, my apologies.
Ordinance 7813, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into a contract for construction and construction engineering associated with the Safe Routes to School sidewalk improvements, project number 268, and declaring an emergency. Member Pappy.
President Sands, I request that we consider this under suspension.
Second.
And the reason for that,
Try getting it done before school gets back in.
okay, seems like a good reason. So it's the same, basically, it's the same grant. This is just, same project, just authorizing the Service Safety Director to put this out for bid.
And again, I apologize not being here past two meetings, but I think the bids are coming up pretty quickly too, so we have to get them, the authorization to actually accept the bid.
Okay, we have a request and a second to suspend the rules. So everyone in favor of suspending the rules on ordinance 7813 signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the rules have been suspended, Member Pappy.
So I move to adopt 7813.
Second.
So the only thing I would want to add is that the unappropriated balance is the sum of $80,000, and that's coming out of Street Fund 220. I think that's really all I need to add.
I might just briefly offer my support for this ordinance. The Safe Routes to School projects we've been fortunate enough to receive a number of years now, and it's an attempt to help deter childhood obesity and to help allow for safer pathways to our public school systems. So I want to offer my support. Thank you.
Mayor, did you have anything else to say?
No, that's perfectly correct. It's the way it
All
is.
those in favor of adopting ordinance 7913 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ordinance 7913 is adopted.
7813.
7813, I'm sorry. Now we're going to move on to ordinance 7913. Somehow I got confused, okay. Ordinance 7913, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application to participate in the 2014 state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs for Issue 1 funds, to issue contracts as required and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you, President Sands. Are we good to go on this, Mayor?
I don't think so. I hope I'm correct on it, but I don't think so.
Okay, so I move to adopt 7913.
No,
Or what do I need to do?
You need
Do you want it suspended?
I don't think so. I don't think we need to. I hope I'm correct on that. But
Okay.
do you know offhand? I wasn't. here for
I don't
last
have a
time.
note written here that we need to.
Then in that case, to be on the safe side, I'd say do it.
So do suspend?
Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
Mr. President,
so you're moving to
to
suspend the rules?
suspend 7913.
Second.
On the mayor's recommendation, here,
Blame
we're
me.
we're asking to suspend the rules on ordinance 7913. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Member Pappy, the rules have been suspended.
So now we move to adopt. And what this is
Second.
have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, second. What this is the, what we're looking at this money to apply for is the West Union Street 2014 is when we would work on this project. So next year. And this is up to $400,000. And we're looking to improve the infrastructure on West Union, down from Bromley, down the hill. And paving. Anything else you'd like to add?
Paving and water pipes. I think it's going to take it to either Schaefer or we'll take it to Factory Street. I forget where it stops. I know we have a faulty hydrant on Factory and West Union, and this was part of the, if you remember last year, we were trying to roll this together with the Harris Ranson and, what is it, Terrace Drive, but we just didn't have the money to do that, so we put it in this package this year.
And we also decided, I think, with the rerouting that's going on because of the Oxbow Bridge, it wouldn't be a good idea to try to do this
No.
project, because that's,
No, nobody would make it uptown after.
no, not at all. So,
Okay, All those in favor of adopting ordinance 7913 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, ordinance 7913 is adopted. Okay, we have a one reading resolution. It is kind of long. It starts off short. Resolution 0813, a resolution expressing the appreciation of the city of Athens, Ohio to Elahu Ghazni for his public service. And then it goes on. Whereas Elahu Ghazni was elected as an at-large representative in January 2008 and is serving his third term in this position. And whereas Elahu Ghazni has been a strong advocate of environmentally friendly initiatives, including a solar power array and creation of the city's Green Fleet Committee, both significant to our community's role and responsibility for a cleaner environment. And whereas Elahu Ghazni was ever mindful of fiduciary obligations and responsibilities of municipal government, and was not afraid to ask the difficult or uncomfortable questions. And whereas Elahu Ghazni has been a staunch activist for Athens and has used his research skills to measure the efficacy of various legislative policies. And whereas Elahu Ghazni championed the city's adoption of partner benefits and has advanced updates in city code to reflect inclusivity, and whereas Elahu Ghazni has generously given his time as a public servant, this council wishes him well in his future endeavors. Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Athens, Ohio. Section 1. The City of Athens does hereby express its appreciation to Elahu Ghazni for his faithful and distinguished service to the city as an at-large member of the Athens City Council, serving with Presidents Jim Sands and William Bias, and council members Nancy Bain, Kent Butler, Sherry Kuhn, Chris Fall, Chris Nisley, Michelle Pappy, Steve Patterson, and Jeff Reisner. Section 2. The Clerk of Council is hereby directed to present a certified copy of the resolution to Elahu Ghazni. And nobody ever gets to leave without a picture of our lovely city building with chimneys intact.
Chimneys and leak-proof roof.
Thank you, seriously.
Did you say
Thank you.
something or does it matter?
Thank you.
And we wish you the best of everything in your new positions, wherever that might be.
Thank you. I wrote some notes, but I think I probably won't use them. This is a sad day because this will be my last meeting. I've spent almost every Monday up here for the past 5.5 years, and a few before then, but mostly last 5.5 years. The reason it was alluded to, but just for those who don't know, everyone here does just about, but after a long and sometimes trying endeavor at graduate school, I'm finally dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and I'll be finishing my degree formally sometime this summer. And so my fiancée and I will be relocating to somewhere in Europe and probably Germany, looking at some research, postdoc research opportunities there. So it's a very exciting time. Thinking back on the years that I've been here at this desk, there have been some challenges and some things that have been difficult, I think, for the community. But as a whole, I think that I was very fortunate to have the opportunity. It was a humbling experience, as all of you know, sometimes all too well. But it's a very humbling experience to be chosen by the people of Athens to represent them and to do the work that's necessary to run the city. And Sometimes I think I've done that well. Sometimes it's been, sometimes I haven't done it as best as maybe someone else would have been able to. But overall, I think I've strived to say what I believe and really to do what I think is best for the city from my perspective. I think everyone up here does that. It's been such a privilege to serve with each and every one of you. Jim, you read some names of people that were here a few years ago, and it's amazing how much change there's been on this council in the past few years. But it's good change. The people that are here now are working very hard. I think that the work continues. Over the past few years, I think there have been a lot of great advances thanks to many of the people in this room. Auditor Hecht, you've done a very good job in your office looking over our finances and making sure that we're doing things well in that department. Mayor Weil, you came in with a vision. You came in with somewhat of a quest, I think, that the people of Athens put you on, and been successful in many parts of that. Law Director Lang, it's been such a privilege to get your perspective on things from the legal office in the city, and to have the opportunity to serve with you. Debbie, you make it all possible. Nothing would happen up here without your help. So I guess just to close up my thoughts, I want to thank everyone in this room and thank the residents of Athens for giving me the opportunity to serve the city of Athens, a city that's given me so much over the years, and I've been happy to try to give a little bit back. So thank you all.
Thank you. It was my honor to offer the resolution. Now I need a second to the resolution and adoption.
Second.
Motion to adopt.
All motion to adopt.
Okay. All of those in favor of adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, don't say it. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Very quickly, we do have an opportunity for announcements and other business. Mayor, do you have anything else that you need to tell us?
No, not that I can think of right now. Probably a Finance Personnel Committee eventually, I'm sure.
We will have another meeting next Monday, 7 o'clock. Already she knows we're going to be talking about finance.
I'll have the planning and development committee, I've been told.
I can't think of any momentarily.
Say yes.
Okay.
Be on the safe side.
And we have an opportunity for citizens to speak on issues that were not covered tonight. Anyone wish to speak right now? Okay, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned at 8:25.